Welcome to The Fraud Lab, where we unravel mysteries, expose scams, and equip you with the knowledge to protect yourself against the ever-evolving world of fraud. I'm Joe, and I'll be your host and lab partner as we uncover the secrets behind one of the most persistent crimes in our society. It might be happening to you right now. In today's video, we're looking at how to navigate fraud. It affects all of us, both individuals and businesses, and we're going to unpack it piece by piece. Before we get started, I want to shed some light on the key terminology you'll hear in the world of fraud. A term that you may have heard before, identity theft. It's when someone steals your sensitive information to impersonate you. They could run up debts or commit other fraud in your name, and you're left holding the bag. Another one you've likely heard, social engineering. It's when fraudsters trick you into divulging confidential information like passwords, bank details, or identity documents through social interactions. The most common form of social engineering is phishing, which involves sending deceptive emails. Then we have spoofing. This is where a scammer falsifies information such as email, website, or device to make it appear as if it comes from a trustworthy source. The fraudster's goal is to impersonate people, trusted entities, or get past fraud detection systems. Then we have fraud rings, organized groups of fraudsters. These groups orchestrate large-scale attacks to deceive and manipulate systems or people for financial gain. A fraud ring may have a structure that resembles a legitimate company. And then money mules. These individuals are unwittingly or knowingly used by fraudsters to transfer funds or set up fake accounts with their identity. Last one, dark web. It's a part of the internet that's intentionally hidden and inaccessible through standard web browsers. It's known for hosting anonymous and often illicit activities. Okay, to see how fraudsters connect, let's play some pool.
This is Adam Vorsnik. He is a deception detective and a local pool shark.
Right, this table represents interactions between fraudsters and how they operate. So let's use the cue ball to represent fraudster A. After testing a particular system and finding a way around the security measures, fraudsters want to make as much money as possible. Or maybe they don't want to expose themselves to too much risk. So they decide to advertise and sell their method online to other fraudsters.
Now, if you were a fraudster and didn't want to get caught, it would make sense to just sell your method to other fraudsters that would instead put them at risk, or at least more risk than you.
This type of activity expanded beyond dark web, with communication going through social media and messaging apps. And now, all these fraudsters can attack the same system themselves. And the pockets?
Don't tell me. Successful attacks.
Correct. The ultimate goal of fraudsters is to make money, whether it's through phishing, fake job offers, marketplace scam, the list goes on and on. And to facilitate all these attacks, they need accounts. A lot of accounts.
So in this demonstration, the cue ball is the method I'm selling, and the balls I hit are the sales I've made. After the pool break, my job's done. Now whether the ball goes into the pockets or not is left in the hands of the fraudsters I've sold it to. In the world of pool, the more balls you can get in the pockets, the closer you are to winning the game, if you happen to hit the right balls in.
Oops, missed that one. But of course, not every shot goes according to plan. Every mistake is a missed opportunity, and in case of fraud, a potential exposure.
Okay, so in the world of fraud, if you scratch, you're going to jail.
Well, yes and no. Online fraud still gives a lot of advantages to bad actors over fraud committed in person. Locating, identifying, and catching fraudsters is a lengthy process. It requires a collective effort across teams from different organizations and often different countries.
So from the fraudster's point of view, it's like they have as many shots as they'd like, on table after table after table. And that's why Adam's team exists. It's their job to stop them from entering the system and effectively blocking off the pockets so they can't score.
I got you, Joe.
Yep, got me.
So we've broken down the complexity of fraud rings, and now it's super clear to me that awareness is the best defense. Or is it? Simon Horswell, a guru in the field of fraud and digital identity verification. Simon has been instrumental in developing cutting-edge solutions to combat fraud and ensure secure, seamless user experiences. He's at the forefront of revolutionizing how businesses and individuals verify their identities in the digital age.
Simon Horswell, we have you in the Fraud Lab. Tell us what this is all about.
Well, essentially, what we're trying to do at its core is verify someone's identity. When we used to do this before with some websites, you would sign up with your email, you would create a password, and then that would be how you would gain access from that point on. Mm-hmm. The trouble with that is you can forget your password, and it's always possible that fraudsters could steal your password through phishing or something like that. So we want to do something that's a bit more robust. Now, if it was in the physical world, we've got quite a nice example, okay? Yes. So if we think about border control, that's an entry point. How do you gain access? Well, let's say you've just come off your international flight. You're standing at the immigration counter. I'm the immigration officer, and then you hand me your identity document. Now, I examine the document to make sure that the document is genuine and that it hasn't been tampered with. And then I look at you and compare you with the image in the document to make sure that you're the rightful holder.
So that's me?
Now, during this process, I can then also watch how you're behaving. I can interact with you, talk to you, try and find out if your behavior is in any way abnormal. And then that means that we've got quite a robust way of confirming you are who you say you are. And if everything's good, then off you go, past immigration control.
That all sounds good and well, but I just came from an airport and my experience was passport, picture, doors open, and I'm through. I didn't even see a border official.
Right. So technology has moved on to such an extent, instead of having an officer physically do part of that, step one is you give your document to the machine and it verifies that the document's okay. Step two is it does the facial recognition. So it confirms with the camera that you match the photo on the document. And then if everything's okay, opens a gate and through you go.
But that's only 2 steps.
Right. So the third step is you have immigration officials that are around monitoring the entire time. You're very exposed, you're out in the open. If you were to try and spoof the booth, then what would happen is it would be immediately apparent. So if you tried to jump the gate, if you tried to put on a mask so that you could take care of the facial similarity part of it, then that would be very, very clear to anyone that's observing. And again, the gate would just lock.
So what are all the different types of methods you would use?
Well, when we're thinking about this in the remote environment, obviously the person is no longer with us.
Yeah.
We're just left with the device. Mm-hmm. So we have to make do with what we've got, and we have to come up with other ways to perform that kind of interrogation, right? We still have the document part of it. We still have the facial similarity, so the biometrics. But now what we're missing is that conversational element. But there are other things that we can interrogate the device for that will help us authenticate the source. Okay, so I can confirm the location of the device. I can look at some of the settings. Maybe I can look at the language that it's in. I can look at the speed of the interaction between the user end of the transaction and the application process. And if it's too quick, that might tell me something. So when you start to add all of these up, we're starting to digitally recreate that conversational part. So we can watch the behavior and we can look out for that kind of digital bead of sweat running over the top lip because the device is not authentic. Now, biometrics is a key to removing this friction. We want to reduce the friction so that the good actors pass through quickly and the bad actors get filtered out.
So how would fraud rings try to attack the biometrics?
Okay, so they could do something really low tech, like a mask or a printout or something like that, and it could change all the way up to something as high tech as deepfakes. Deepfakes is a very real emerging threat and something that we really need to be very careful about.
This all sounds intriguing, Simon, and I want to hear more, but you're going to have to wait until next time on the Fraud Lab.
For more episodes, subscribe below. And for more fraud content, sign up for our podcast and download our fraud report.